Y'all keep sending them in. I'll keep reviewing them. Welcome back to another episode of Deck Sage, y'all. So, as always, you guys send in your deck lists, and I review them, try to improve them as best I can, help y'all make the best list y'all that you can possibly do. Of note, though, I'm not perfect. I don't know what cards you have access to, what your decision tree is, anything of that nature. All I can do is look at the cards, try to make the best decisions that I can, and I am far from perfect on these. So I don't know every deck. So please be patient, and sometimes these decks will not come out perfect. Everything requires some further testing on your end. Without further ado, let's go dig right into it. We have Kirjan sent in a Fire Ice 7 deck called Hot Turks in Your Area. They have been to Materia Cup. This is for locals, but they want to take it seriously. After submitting Wind Lightning Scions, they want to try out some other odd color package. They've done Turks with every element. This list is untested, looking to flesh out an idea. No idea if it would be viable at any serious level. I actually have messed with this, and I actually think it's quite good, I'm not going to lie. Let's go ahead and hop into the editor and take a look real quick. So what all do we have? We have a Fire Ice 7 deck. We have a full 3/3 3 Turks package. Axstar and Celtius as our only dual element cards. I think that is a-okay. We have a Cloud to help search and get online. Okay. I see where we are. So I will walk you through kind of the changes that I personally would make. First things first, I want Miyu at 3. I am a huge Miyu believer. Unlike Mont Blanc into Hurdy, you have to have the Mont Blanc and the ICP specifically for the Hurdy. Miyu doesn't ask anything of you, and Miyu also can get you another fire backup if you've already got like a narrow on field and you want to have an extra fire backup. 100% I want the extra Miyu before I want the extra Mont Blanc Hurdy. If I want to make room for that, I think it's probably the Edward. I'm a big fan of Edward in like Storm style decks, but in a deck like this, where we're going to be really aggressive, I don't know that we're going to be able to leave Edward active often enough for him to feel like a really, really good idea. And I think most of the other cards in this actually like quite a bit better. I think that Nero is an engine requirement. He needs to be at 3. Miyu is a backup engine. Mont Blanc is a backup engine. We should be able to get 2 to 4 backups down with no issues in this deck. So I'm going to cut the 1 Edward and feel pretty decent about it. Looking at our forwards, 3 Axstar, 3 Vincent. Already liking that. 3 Rude, 3 Reno. I could take or leave this and go to a second Rude, but I get why you want 3. 1 Promo Squall. I'm not a huge fan of this card. One copy of Cloud. This is a personal thing. It might just be that I don't own this Cloud, but I usually run Aerith instead. We're on 22 Category 7 characters. Getting back like a copy of Rufus and a Reno seems really, really good. Or like a Weiss and a Rufus, right? Like you can go Weiss, make them discard, and then Rufus, make them discard again, get 2 Dull Freezes out of the package off of a 0 CP forward. I think is just like so impactful and so good. I also think that Aerith getting back something like a Reno and a Reno means you could play Reno and then Reno special to actually protect yourself on your attack. I'm going to cut the Squall for now. I'm just not a fan of the card. I'm okay with the Axstar. Weiss, we gotta have 3. We gotta have 3 Rufus. I get the idea with the Vayne. It's a little too cute for me. I'm going to cut it personally. Zach, our demon. The other, what do I want to replace those with? I want more fire for sure, but I think I want 2 copies of Renoa. This might seem a little greedy, but like Renoa Flickering Zac is so much value. Renoa Flickering Aerith is wildly good. Like we have so many good entry effects. Play Renoa, flicker our Axstar. Axstar comes back in, plays another thing, ping something, right? Like there's just so much value on our entry effects. Flicker our Demon, for instance, to get a double cleave. Just seems so good. One other thing, looking here at your summons, I want to get the third Shiva in, if at all possible. I think that makes a big difference in the quality of this. And I don't love this Shiva at all. I see this as like a pretty aggressive deck that's trying to kind of run the opponent down. We have the Amaterasu's. Shiva gives us the ability to spam through what our opponent's doing. We're on 22 fire cards. It's probably enough. But I'm also okay with running... what do I want to run instead of that Shiva, if anything? I feel like I want to run a fire forward of some kind. Honestly, Tifa would not be a bad pick here. I'm just curious, looking through like the recent fire forwards, if there's anything that really sticks out. I always love this Warrior of Light to kind of dig, especially like as an early card. It kind of gives you a second mulligan towards your backups. We have those 2 backup engines that are both extremely powerful, right? Digging through a little bit more, just seeing if anything sticks out of me. Forward Squall, I'm okay with. Yeah. I think that personally, I would probably go on that, or even honestly, just 1 copy of Belias the Gigas for a draw on an EX. Get the EX count up still a little bit, but like, you know, sneak lethal out of nowhere. Giving Axstar haste is really good. Giving the Demon haste is really good. Giving Zac haste is really good. We don't have a lot of soldier synergy with our Zac, but I think I'm okay with that. We could run a Genesis, actually, if we want to have a soldier to run. I think Genesis is, in this situation, like, okay. You run like 1 to 2 copies of him. He's also a very nice target for Zac to tag into. Dull freeze a forward, you know, Zac dies, and then swing, force a discard, play another Zac. Seems pretty decent. I would cut like the, you know, something like the second Rude for that. I think seems decent. Food for thought. But I think something like this seems really, really good. I could go there, go for the third Rude as well, either or. Yeah, I think this deck actually has a lot of potential as like an aggro deck that's like really difficult to handle and kind of gets in, goes fast, and wins the game while being very disruptive and hard to play against. Alright, we have Cat 4 forwards. This has been kind of the hardest one for me to do. Qualified for Nats by Chad Mason for locals, but they want to take it seriously. Hoping to combat science with sneaky Cecil Earth to win Cecil and play Sid FFBE from hand and see if the matchup is life. Or like, haven't had too much trouble with Ice Lightning. Rydia based decks can be quite challenging. Haven't play tested against Cat 6 yet. Oh, wow. We are all over the place. So let's take a look and see what we're working with. So looking at our backups, we're on Materia. Now something that's interesting that I'm seeing immediately, we're saying we're on a crystal package. We've got the Lenas, we've got the Leishellas, we've got the Edge, we've got our Cecil. But we're also like playing Cecil, and you're saying Cecil for win Cecil to play Sid FFBE. We're not really generating that many crystals. We're not even on the crystal generation Porum. I feel like we're just not going to have the crystals to do what we're looking to do with this deck. So, like, if it's me, I think, like, the Alchemists, especially, like, I'm not sure. I guess the idea is we could tag a forward for any other forward. But I feel like we have to have some Crystal Gen in here. I hate these cards. These are some of my least favorite cards in the game. But, like, we are so heavy on crystals, the fact that our backups aren't generating crystals for us is potentially a problem. Another thing that I'm seeing that looks like a bit of a nombo, we're on Shinryu, but we're on, like, nothing but forwards and backups. So unless we get board wiped by our opponent, the Shinryu just isn't going to be live very often, which I think is a little bit scary. I feel like we can't really run Shinryu because we're going to be on almost always 2 or 3 forwards. Like, this is just not a card that's going to pair well with what we're doing, probably. So I think we need to go a different direction. Sid FFBE, I'm not a huge fan of this card. I get what you're going for here, but I still feel like there's just enough ways to play around this. Like, your opponent can just kill him before they actually commit to the cheating in. I know the special, like, seems appealing with the Glaciella, but, like, it is what it is. I'm going to leave this in for now. I think that because we're not running a light forward specifically, I think that in decks that are trying to use this many crystals, I am almost always going to run Spiritus over the Materia. I think the Spiritus is just a better card. It's a lot easier to get the condition of get one crystal and then spend both of them on a turn. Like, the Lena does it by herself. The Cecil can very easily just cash a crystal out to get the Spiritus trigger at the end of the turn. Like, you can kind of be more aggressive with those. Cecil. So we have a lot of Cecils to tag into. But again, we've got all these Cecils, and we're saying we want to play the wind one, right? Like, I feel like this one at minimum probably just can't really stay. We're just gonna have too many. If we're doing Cecil, I want to go 3 on this, which probably means we need to get the class Moogle. I'm gonna cut the searchers down to 1 so we don't break on names. Northstalin for Stiltskin. Leonora at least has an EX. I'm okay with her at 2. We still have a lot of backups though. We're in Earth and or Wind and Water. We have a lot of good summons too. We don't have a water target for Northstalin as well. I'm going to cut the Loporrit out, go to 3 Northstalin, go down to Leonora, and I need a water FFCC backup, which I think is Clavet. What does this one cascade into? Fire or ice. If you wanted to search a Palom, you could do it. But at least this way, the Northstalin represents both of our colors, which I think is pretty important. Stiltskin, we do need to get our Rosa, but I still only want to run 1 of it. I know 15 backups doesn't seem like a lot, but I don't like running more than 15 backups in a deck unless I'm really, really, really wanting to set up before I do things. I don't think this deck needs to do that. We can get our forwards. We have our Glaciella, which kind of functions as removal. Edge is fine here. I think the Hooded Man is okay. I'd like to see like 1 copy of Theodore, potentially, since we do have just a lot of Cat 4. And I think like Two copies of the Ceramobius would actually go quite a long way towards upping your crystal consistency. I probably want the Lena at 2, and then maybe like the Fiend to 1. And then this is still 33 forwards, which is just a lot. Oh, we're even on both of these twins. Interesting. So maybe the summon package matters less at that point, but I might still try to trim this down and run, between 6 and 9 summons instead. Uh, Hopefully that makes sense. I think this is a lot harder of a deck to try to work with in kind of a short format like this. And I think this is a deck I would have to play before I could really give a solid judgment one way or another. Very interesting idea, though. I just really think that you're going to struggle to get your crystals consistently enough to make use of cards like your Lena, like your Glaciella, like your Cecil. I think we're trimming it down quite a bit. Alright, moving right along. We have an Avalanche Chaos Arc by Wolfric. Been to Materia Cup, want to compete seriously. This is for serious tourney playing practice. I like Noctis, like the current Tifa ratios. Consider taking out the Chaos Arc. I'm not sure what to replace it with if I do. If you think it's strong enough, I can keep it as is. So looking at the deck with the Chaos. Oh, it was 20 Chaos, Kadaj, Xenos. Not sure how strong that is or how much I like it. Alright, so let's take a look right here real quick. Starting off with the backups, we have the 3 Tyro, the Vigali, Marlene, the 3 Kolka, Polk, and Elfie. We should have very consistent Barret access, which we do. That's great. One thing that I will straight up say, let's get that Bosch to a 3rd copy. Every single copy of these cards matters in these situations, I think. We have Chaos and Arc. We have Barret to potentially throw them away. I think that's really, really good. The 3 Amaterasu, 2 Mist Dragon is great. I think that's really, really nice. I don't like running Noctis and Chaos at the same time. I know that Noctis is very powerful in Avalanche, but I don't think that you can run Noctis with the Chaos. I actually really like Chaos Arc in Avalanche. I think that it gives it a dimension the deck is kind of missing, as far as like this like really big blowout that it does if the opponent starts to kind of catch back up, right? So I personally would just cut the Noctis. As far as the Tifa ratios go, I would personally still swap. I think I would just go 2 of this and 1 of her. I feel like if you really need this, you can get access to her. But I sort of understand what you're going for there. I'm not going to touch those because you said that you like those. But I personally would swap these. Biggs, we have our 3 Bosch, 3 Barret. We have 6 copies of Cloud, including 2 with an EX burst to pair with our, so we can run Jesse forward. Do I like that? Is that really worth it versus running like the Jesse backup? I don't have a problem with that, given some of what we're looking to do. I will say, I think with what we have here, I wouldn't touch anything here. 3 Amaterasu, 2 Mist Dragon, I think is completely necessary, and I think our backup ratios actually look pretty correct. So the question for me now is, are we doing enough with our Chaos Arc? Because we can't ever repeat the Arc. And I will say that I think I want more copies of Arc. How am I getting those copies of Arc? There's 2 options. We can go with either Kryl or we can go with Terra. We're a lot higher on Earth than Fire, and we're still pretty low on EXs. So I want to make room for 2 copies of Terra in here, I think. I think also getting access to Amaterasu when we're ahead is very, very good. Where are we shaving? I do like that this Tifa gives us access to the special a lot more consistently off of the Barret. Not a huge fan of it, but if it's me, I'm doing that. I think. I think Searching Cloud is nice, but I think it's a little awkward to actually cast her because we have to have either Tyro or Elfie on the field, and we don't always have that. And I think that our Tifa ratios here are actually fine. We're not going to break on names by doing that. And then I think I want to get 1 copy of Gabranthan here as well. Just to give us access to either Cloud or Chaos, I think is really kind of neat. Maybe go down 1 copy of Bosch. 2 Bosch, 1 Gabranth, and kind of go from here. We should have enough fire to still play the game. We have the ability to play a Terra late game if we get ahead. We have easy access to our Barret. We have full Chaos Arc potential. If we don't play Chaos Arc, we do free up a lot of space. What does that space actually get us, though, is the question. I don't like running the Opus 20 Chaos with Xenos. Like, I know that the idea is like it lets you toolbox the Xenos, but one of Xenos' biggest strengths is that you can cast him from the break zone. And if you use Opus 20 Chaos' action ability, you don't have access to that. So I'm going to see here. What do we get if we cut those slots out? We cut the Gabranth as well then. Go up on our Mist Dragon to 3 by doing that. Leave the Terra where she is. Bosch to 3. We can run the 1 Noctis again. Okay with that. We can run 1 copy of that Tifa. And is there any other really, really nice cards that I'd want to run in this? I feel like the Bigs and Wedge mean that we don't really need a lot of our removal summons. We just need to not die when those summons come up. We're on a lot of Earth. We don't have a lot of big stuff. This is actually kind of tricky for our last 3 slots. I don't want to run another Light Forge. We've got the Noctis. It's almost like I'm looking for some fire cards at that point, but I don't want to run more fire backups. The Squall wouldn't be terrible. I honestly don't even hate red, to be honest. As just a really, really big frickin' beat stick that just is always going to be live. Zach's actually kind of cool in this list. I didn't think about that until now. You can go Zach. If Zach dies, pull a Barret. Or functionally any of these out. I would say 1 copy of Cloud just to give us easier access. You can kind of go turn 1 this, turn 2, turn it into our bigs if we need it. And then 2 copies of a decent fire card. probably just summon. Something like this seems fine. If you want it to be an EX burst, I think two Brynhildr are A-OK as well. This seems decent. So either or. I think the Chaos Arc package gives actually quite a bit, but this would do pretty well too. Up next, we have Icewind Moogles by P. Matt Smith. They've been to Materia Cup, want to compete seriously. Fun meme deck for locals. Want to build a deck for Moogles utilizing King Mog and Sarah 17. Didn't know if the Moogles have enough, so pairing with Icewind would help. Don't want to know if we in with Luso and Rosa, or stick with Barley and Zidane. Having Axtarn as a burst to clear the way. Or accelerate board presence. Too little fire to rely on to keep in for Stegberg himself. No, we'd love to know what direction to take it in. Okay, let's take a look here what we've got. So first thing I can say, I don't like the amount of fire that we have. I think you hit the nail on the head. So there's a couple different directions that we're going with here, and a lot of them are just kind of we're pulled in a lot of different directions. I think that generally I would play the old discard Zidane over this one in almost every deck list. I think this one is a lot slower than you think. And I think that, especially for a deck that we're just now building with for the first time, let's try to keep it to just two colors as much as we can. So we're going to stick with Icewind. And then we have to do the Sarah problem, which is that Sarah requires us to play a critical mass of Moogle backup specifically. And Moggle Mog needs us to also play a critical mass of Moogles. And right now we have only 11. I also think that because these are so expensive, I don't think that the direction to take this deck is Chaos. I think we're going to want to take this in a control direction. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the Luso and cut the Rosa. We're going to focus on just doing the one thing. I'm okay with these for now. Whenever I want to almost. The math on Moggle Mog, and this is where things are going to get really scary for you. I'm very sorry. It's not very good. 49 cards left in the deck after Mog. We're revealing 3. Moogles, we have, let's say we put the normal backup count, every backup in the deck is a Moogle. We only have a 67% chance to hit. We need to be running 18 Moogles for a 75% hit rate, which is a lot. We're going to have to really, really go kind of ham on this a little bit. So, and this gets, unfortunately, the math on Mog gets worse the longer the game goes, too. We're going to run 313-2 FFBE. What are we searching with that? The wall. Okay. Mog plays cost 3 or less. Alright. Let's go get Stiltskin for sure. I'm going to drop Mog BE to 1. We're going to want to run one of each of the class Moogles here in the right colors. We really just need names. Names are going to be very critical for this deck. Um, I'm going to get my favorite Hurdy, which is actually this one. As many Moogles with positive text as I can find. We'll run No as well as a one of. That's going to get us to 16 job Moogles as our backups. Which one of these isn't a Moogle? Oh, Hardy's a Moogle. Yeah, we're fine. So that's 18 Moogles. That gets us to a 75% hit rate. I'm a little more okay with that. So now we need to figure out what exactly we're doing with those backups. We're on the Barley, we're on Sid Hayes. I think those are just good stuff cards. We're not able to use this wall at all. I actually need to look up if there are any FFBE characters that I would want to play in Icewind. Well, I can see the one that I like already. Actually, there's a couple of these that are pretty decent cards. I'm going to lean into a Icewind more control-y package. We do already have some discard synergy with Sarah. So I'm going to run 3 copies of Physalis here. We're going to try to play this that way. In that situation, we have Physalis, Sarah, which is good. We have 18 backups and a lot of differently named Moogles, all of which are effectively hits. We need... I can tell you right now, we need Chocomog. 3 copies of that. The 3 Chocomog, 2 Azura, Moogle 11 is a great combo for us. No forward. We're going to stick with just the backup. Null. I'm okay with at least 1 copy of Null. I'll put him at 1. We're going to run this as more of a targeted discard deck, I think. Which unfortunately means we're going to need some big ones on the field. Actually, that's making me think Borrow. I don't see a ton of reactivation. Like Evray, it's almost Azura is reactivation, but Borrow I might be better as a one of here. Oh, actually, Barley's second effect is really good here. Never mind, we're going to leave him in at 2. Even with just a couple casts, this lock gets really good very quickly. And I still think that at least 2 copies of Melvin is more than fine. So all I'm looking for from here now are just good discard synergies, because we are going to be forcing discards with Sarah. We should be ahead enough where we're actually going to be pretty fine on backups as well. So I'm going to go with Orphan as just another discard engine. And then 2 copies of Biblos. So now we're trying to control the board state with that. It's not a cast Icewind deck, but you can't really make a cast focused Icewind deck because you can't make it consistent enough. Like your backups don't cascade out the way you want them to in a cast focused deck if you're trying to use this Sarah in a wind shell. So I think you have to lean into a control engine, and I think the best control engine you have access to is a discard shell. Something like this. I might even at this point swap out for like for 2 copies of Sarah Mobius and cut like 1 copy of the Lock and a copy of the Melvin. But like this is kind of what you're looking at, I think. Hopefully that makes sense. And you're just trying to be as annoying as possible, make your opponent struggle to play. Additionally, if you wanted to have some targeted discard, this Sedaine is still would be very good on this shell. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you like it. And we have our last one of the day, which is X Gonna Give It To You by Infernal Knight. But the Materia Cup, for locals won't take it seriously, Levy and Bismarck are expensive. Fair enough. What do we have? We have a FF10, looks like a control deck. Pretty simple overall. Let me think about what I would do with this list. I don't hate most of the backups. I think the only thing that I will say is Thornton is very expensive. I'd be a little scared. Also, if you're budget conscious, I would just run 3 Laprid instead. And just not rely on the EX burst and say the draw power is more valuable. This is also multi-playable, so you can dig. Maybe go down like a copy of Awaka, puts us on 15 backups, which is like where I think the sweet spot is. And I would go 3 brother, 1 Riku. Or 3 Riku, 1 brother. Rather than have a 2-2 split. But Riku is just so much more important to the deck. As far as the summons, that seems pretty fine. I'd be a little worried about having enough Water Forge for this Leviathan. Monsters, don't hate one of Evray, Echidna. I would still put it just 1. We only have 9 summons. 2 Typhon is fine. And then our forwards, we have 3 BFA. We have, this Ject. So the idea is the Ject dies and becomes BFA. But that means the Ject's gotta die. And I think that's just a little less consistent. So what I think I would do... Oh, we're on Waka backup. I think we really want to play Waka forward, if I'm being totally honest here. I just think we need 1 extra threat. I think it makes just such a massive difference. The 3rd Orin, Lulu's incredible, but we can go down a copy of her, put the pain to 1. Inject for BFA. I think the Demon is just better BFA at this point, but I'm okay with if you want to make it look like this. I do also think there is just an argument, because we can't kill our own Ject very easily, to just run 5 of the Ject block Jects. Something like this also would just be good. Use the Jack to sack to go get a Tidus off. Um, I'm actually okay with this, to be totally honest. Cut the Typhon to 1. I know the backup count actually seems pretty low, but I think the Loporrits go a long way here. And, like, go down 1 copy of this jacked, like something like this almost. Seems pretty decent, but that's another option you could go for. Um, yeah, I think this is about as pretty fine. You could definitely run the backup Waka, but I just feel like the threat generation from this Waka is too high for a 2CP forward to actually not put in the deck. It's just too good a pair with the Orin as well. Hopefully that works for you. And with that, that is 5 more decks. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope y'all are excited for the next one.